You're ruining my big moment, baby. This is the book series that I was talking to you about at the end of last week's weekly reading vlog. I was so excited to find these on my shelves when I was reorganizing. This was one of my favorite books when I was a teenager. The entire series was great. I remember almost nothing about it right now. I know that the main character is a twin, and her twin either was kidnapped or went missing or something like that at the beginning of this book. And as she's going to find her twin, she stumbles upon this guy named Martin, who's the only character whose name I remember in this book, because for the longest time all of my male characters were then named Martin. I like him a lot, okay? And he is the strong, silent type, and he was put under a geas to protect the daughter of a man who died in court. And the daughter happens to be these two twins. So because there are two of them, not one of them, the geas is doubled in strength, so he really can't resist it. He magically has to protect the main character. There's a lot of tension there, and he is a little bit over the top about his protecting of the main character. And I just remember absolutely loving it, so I am starting this book today. Gonna happen. My wrists are not perfect, but they are not in agony. I am opening this book and I am reading it cover to cover. That is my goal. Because I'm an overachiever, my goal this weekend is to read all three of them. So that means I have to finish this book today. Will I do it? Will I not do it? Let's find out. So as it turns out, audiobooks are really much better for reading while you're cooking than physical books. Who knew? I haven't read a whole lot yet of the book. I've just gotten through the prologue, and I forgot that there even was a prologue. I forgot about a lot of things in this book. It's great. I love revisiting old favorites when you don't remember every tiny thing, because it's almost like you're catching up with the characters after such a long absence. You still remember some things. For instance, the main character's name is Galtree. I completely forgot about that. And her sister's name is Mervion, and I completely forgot about that. So in the prologue, which is about Mervion, I had no idea if this was in the far past, because one of the characters is pregnant, so I'm thinking, oh, she's pregnant with the twins, but no, she wasn't. Mervion is one of the twins, and that's the twin that gets kidnapped at the very beginning in the prologue, as it turns out. Although Galtree hasn't yet heard about it from where I am, like I said. I didn't really get that far while I was cooking, making cupcakes for a cookout that my sister's having tomorrow. And I forgot about the prophecy. There's a prophecy, you see, where this principality, which had split off from a greater empire 300 years previous to the story, it was foretold that the principality would fall if ever they didn't uphold the vow of each prince marrying a commoner from the country. So his wedding is coming up in 3 weeks. I guess the commoner hasn't been chosen. I guess this is not a love match. This is I have to marry a commoner, so anyone will do match. But I completely forgot about this. Essentially, the villain is setting it up to interrupt this sacred ritual to the goddesses so that they will refuse their patronage to the prince, and the principality will be reabsorbed into the empire. Now, the great thing is that the prophecy centers around Mervion and Goltree, and the villain doesn't understand or realize yet that the prophecy, twice fair, refers to two people, not just one. So he's got Mervion, and he thinks he's got the key to it, but then here comes Goltree to ruin his plans by the end. I'm remembering more about this book now. But you know what? I should read it. I should read it and find out, and I will give you an update later. So until then. "Don't stare," she said, lying down and curling into her cloak. "I'm not staring," he said softly. "I'm wondering. Wonder why you're looking somewhere else." So I reached that line, and I wanted to give you an update. It's just after 9 o'clock in the evening. I still have a couple hours before Mark gets home, so I still have a couple hours of reading time before I'm interrupted, and yes, I will be continuing to do so. I will probably be continuing to do so even when he's home, because this is a good book, and I want to continue reading it. For the first time since I started these weekly reading vlogs, I'm able to pick up the book and show you how far I am. I'm only on page 82. My wrists started hurting about when I reached page 32, so I've been alternating between holding the book in my hands and using the slightly annoying to use book hug to have it propped open in front of me. So far in the book, Goltree has learned that her sister has been captured and is under the command of the villain. She's met Martin, who misinterpreted the Jais and instead of binding it to the both twins, just bound it to her. So now it's particularly strong, and he's not happy with it, and they're butting heads, and I love it. And she has left her home in order to go find more answers and see how she can help to save her sister. I'm starting to remember a little bit more of the broader parts of the book, but I'm also learning a lot of the particulars all over again, and I'm enjoying it a lot. One thing I will say is, for those who have triggers, the beginning of Goltree's story, she is accosted by a group of men, and there is the threat of rape. It doesn't actually come to fruition, but please know, for those who have triggers, that you should be aware of that, and potentially either skim or skip or decide to pass up the book altogether. Look, I'm here with you. There are triggers that I cannot handle, and usually rape is one of them, but because I like this book and because I know that nothing ever actually happened, I was able to push through that and actually get into the story and enjoy it. Now, one of the things that I loved best about this story that I completely forgot about is the magic system. Goltree and her sister Mervion are both witches that rely on the goddesses for their powers. Now, Mervion tends to identify more with the lady, and Goltree identifies more with the huntress. Now, it shows a little bit about what her magic can do, and I really enjoyed it because it has to do a lot with nature and with animals and with hunting, obviously. So one of the things that she does while she's running away from her captors, and no, she doesn't go like a lamb, she's definitely a fighter, she escaped her captors and started running, and when the dogs caught up to her, because it's a hunting party, she borrowed some stamina and strength from the dog, thereby putting it out of commission and giving herself a bit of superhuman flight speed before she had a fall and was injured and even then, she did not lay down and wait for Martin to come save her. Eventually he does, but not before she uses her magic in very creative ways to make her captors, let's just say, back off. I really enjoyed the way that the author introduces the character and the way that she empowers Galtrey. Like, Galtrey is not a damsel in distress, even though she is put under the protection of Martin. Like, the entire premise of the book is that he is supposed to be the White Knight to always keep her safe, no matter what, especially from the villain, who he has learned is looking for Galtrey, which kind of halfway prompts him to go find her, the other half being some secrets that he hasn't quite exposed yet, and that I forget, which is going to be great when I learn. I love it. I love that I've forgotten so many of these details. It's been like 15 years since I read this book, and I don't know why I haven't read it in the meantime, but it's been sitting on my shelf, and I'm so glad I held on to it through like several purges of books. This book made it from Ontario all the way to Newfoundland, and then when I moved back from Newfoundland to Ontario, it came back with me, which is quite the feat because there was a big purge in between there so that I didn't have to carry around so many books. When I got back, I didn't have the space, so I had to get rid of more books, and I recently did a big book purge, to only keep the books that really brought me joy, and when I saw it, I knew that one gonna bring me some joy, and it really has. It's late, I'm rambling, and I really want to get back to the book, so I will leave it at that for tonight, and I will tell you a little bit more on how far I got in the morning. Good night. When we last met our intrepid heroine, that's me, she was on page 82 of Wind from a Foreign Sky by Katja Riemann. I am currently on page 154. Is that where I was hoping to be at the start of this weekend when I wanted to read all 3 books in the entire weekend? Well, no. But I am still having a lot of fun reading through this book. The main reason I had to put it down was because of the cookout today and errands in the morning and, life, that sort of thing. I got just over 100 pages yesterday before my wrists kind of said no more, please. And today they're feeling a little bit better. Not a whole lot better, but hopefully enough that I might even be able to finish this book tonight, as I'm hoping, because it's really good. At this point of the story, I'm not entirely sure what I can say without giving away spoilers, because there's a lot of different plot points that are starting to come together and really foretell a lot of things that are happening later on. So let's just suffice it to say that Galtrey is still a badass fighter who will do anything that she needs to in order to survive and come out on top. And I'm still super swoony for Mysterious Martin. I know he doesn't tell her anything, and as an adult, that actually annoys me a lot because I feel like a lot of their problems coexisting could be solved just by talking to each other. But it definitely holds the tension between them. They are not friends. They are not lovers. He was magically bespelled to protect her, so he doesn't really owe her anything when it comes right down to it. I do like that the way that they're slowly getting to know each other more and more and getting more entwined without really meaning to, and pieces of his past are coming out, and pieces of her heritage too. It's really good. It's a lot of fun. So far, this book has definitely justified my opinion in it being one of my favorites from when I was a teenager. It's probably still going to be a favorite. I very much like it, and I am looking forward to continuing and reading on. So far, right now, they are currently on the run from a lot of bad guys that are trying to capture her along with her sister, who he already has. And they are kind of slipping out of one noose and into another over and over again while they try to escape and reach safety so that they can regroup and figure out what they need to do in order to save Mervion. So I am looking very much forward to that, and once again reminded of why I love the magic system. And I will give you another reading update tomorrow or tonight when I finish the book. Which do you think it will be? So as it turns out, another thing that audiobooks are better for than physical books is cleaning. I kind of figured that too, but you know, it's my dad's birthday today, so I've got family coming over. We're gonna have homemade pizza made by Mark and blueberry cheesecake bought at a store. I'm looking forward to it. My sister's cookout was fun, but it's a lot more fun, for me at least, whenever there's not a bunch of people that I don't really know around. So I'm a lot happier just, the five of us. So, as you can probably guess, I did not finish Wind from a Foreign Sky last night. I wanted to, honestly I did. And then around 100 pages read for the day, my wrists decided, no thank you, I'm just gonna stop. And I really don't enjoy reading from the book hug in a physical book. First of all, because every time I need to turn the page, I have to lift the book anyway to turn the page and put it back, or I risk the page getting ripped. So I'm just reading by hand, basically. In any case, Wind from a Foreign Sky. I'm in book 2. Book 2. I'm so excited. This is the point. I was waiting the entire time because I remembered there being another point of view aside from Galtree. I remembered there being a point of view from a woman named Lily, who is a maidservant in the palace and ends up getting a crush on the prince. And I really liked her because she comes from very humble origins, and she just was an all-around good underdog character to root for. And of course, like the whole concept of this principality where the prince has to marry a commoner every time, I find really swoon-worthy, basically. I love it. Of course, that's not really what this particular book is about. This book is about more intrigue and overthrowing the principality and reabsorbing it into an empire, and basically there's political plots and who's aligned with who and stuff like that. Insofar as how complicated it isn't as complicated as some of the other more recent fantasy books that I have read. It's fairly straightforward, I find. There are a few pieces of information that get revealed as you go. But I find insofar as like guessing who's on whose side and that sort of thing, I find that it's more straightforward. But maybe that's because I've read the book before. It's a lot more adventure-y, I find, than intrigue-y. But that's fine by me. I like it a lot. And so far, when I last spoke about this book, she was on her way to safety. She kind of met up at a semi-safe spot, and then they regrouped and they gathered their information, and now they actually have a plan going forward, which is great. So it's a plan fraught with peril, of course, and she's going to have to take a lot of personal risk in order to pull it off. But now we're embarking on that end of the plot, as well as introducing Lily, which is a subplot in the actual palace, so that I just got to Lily's point of view, and I'm super happy about it. So I currently have, because I read a little bit this morning, let's see, I'm on page 221, and there is 379 pages. So I've still got a good 150 pages left, and my wrists tend to want to give out around page 100. What does that mean? A sane person would probably stop and read an audiobook, but I've never claimed to be sane. I'm going for it. I'm going to finish reading this book tonight. That is the truth. You better hold me to it. Before I go to sleep tonight, I don't care if it's past midnight, I'm going to finish this book. Then I can start my Monday with an entirely new book. I did it.